Good evening, fellow DFS players. This is the first episode of my YouTube channel, Grade A Fantasy. Uh, I would like to start by saying, it's gonna be hard work to start a YouTube channel, but it's fun just to talk about DFS and stuff like that. This channel will primarily focus on FanDuel DFS. It will develop into some betting picks and picking of over unders and money lines and stuff like that. But today's first episode, it will be more of a generalization of general overall look at the contrarian picks and the more popular picks. What I think should be or will be the FanDuel Week 1 NFL DFS popular and contrarian picks. First off, before we do that, let's go over last year. Maybe some people would like to go back a year and remember what was the optimal lineup for week one last year. Last year's week one lineup actually scored 224.36 FanDuel points. It was led by Tyreek Hill, scoring 31.6, Travis Kelce with a 22.6, Kyler Murray put up a 34.56, Joe Mixon 23, Tyler Lockett scored 24, Deebo Samuel scored 27.4, Corey Davis scored 24.2, Jamal Williams scored 21, and then we finish off rounding up with Arizona's defense scoring 16 points. So that was last year's FanDuel lineup. So obviously, as usual, I think about 4 or 5 times last year, either it was a mini stack or a three-way stack that actually took from the Kansas City team. And in this case, they did it without Mahomes. This person had Kyler Murray. The Kansas City stack is, once again, it's just going to be popular. Kansas City stacks, I think, are kind of treated as Colorado mile high slates. When Colorado's at home, they're normally like favorite, or the home or the visiting team is also favored because that game is normally expected to go for a lot of runs. So this year for week one, I just have a little outline, took some personal notes, and hopefully, maybe you share some of the same views I have. Obviously, not everybody's going to think the same. Not everybody builds the same lineups. You can tell me if you understand where I'm coming from, whether if I'm right, whether I'm wrong. But I'm just going to go over what I feel are top chalk and pretty much the contrarian play that you might didn't even think of. And if I give you some of these stats and, little tidbits of info, maybe it's something that you might think about, messing around in your current dummy lineup. I think FanDuel dropped their pricing about a week ago, while DraftKings had it like literally at the end of July. So still plenty of time before the football season starts. So let's get into it. First, we'll start with the quarterback position. Top chalk plays will obviously be the main three. Mahomes at 8,700. You got Jackson 8,500, and you got Jalen Hurts at 8,000 even. Jackson and Hurts are probably the ones that are looking probably even the best because they have probably the best matchup. They're both great one-offs. A lot of people are looking forward to see what Jalen Hurts does with A.J. Brown this year. Hopefully that helps him progress into his young quarterback career and even to be a more accurate passer. And on top of that, you're going to love the FanDuel points with him rushing the ball on the ground. Mahomes, as always, no matter what, that game against Arizona is supposed to be high. I think it's up to over 53.5 on Sportsbook for the total. So that and Las Vegas and the Los Angeles Chargers, I think, are the two top scoring props. They both fit 53 or like 52.5, something like that. So those are definitely games that you probably want to like stack up with. Obviously, Mahomes stack, Kansas City stack is normally going to be the popular way to go. Him, Kelce, and maybe one of the new wide receivers, whether it be Juju or Valdez-Scantling. But for contrarian or sneaky plays, first I like to go with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan still has a decent arm. Going against Houston with Indiana. Yes, they are run-based, with the most expensive player on the slate at 10,200 being Jonathan Taylor. But Matt Ryan could also, sling for a touchdown or two to Michael Pittman, and Jonathan Taylor can take it to the house on a screen pass. So Matt Ryan definitely has some upside, and him being over only 6,900, right under 7,000, definitely saves you some money up top. Next, Justin Fields. Justin Fields coming into his second year. He's going against a team that he did perform well against last year. For those who don't know, last year when he did play San Francisco, by the way, his pricing is also 6,900. Justin Fields last year against San Francisco. I would definitely take somebody like this if he could do this again. Definitely saves you a lot of money at other positions. He scored 26.3 Fan Duel points against this 49ers defense. He rushed for 103 and a TD, passed for 175 and a TD. If he could somehow even come close to duplicating that 26.3, 25, even 24, 23 at just under 7,000, that's definitely a good play. Going a little bit further, maybe you're not looking at these two, but I'm just gonna give you two more names at the QB position for contrarian plays and good reasons why I think you should pick them. First, David Mills. David Mills showed everybody a lot last year. If you're picking David Mills, you obviously stack him with his favorite wide receiver, Brandon Cooks. But if you're looking to save, obviously, and he does have some upside, he'll be down against Indy. He's going to be throwing it a lot. Might throw a couple of interceptions, but he also might have a game where he goes for 3 touchdowns and still get over 300 yards. Because most likely you expect them to be fall way, way behind against Indianapolis. So 6,500 for him. And the guy that I really think a lot of people forget about, and maybe for good reason, very inconsistent. He could literally win you your week or lose you most of your weeks in the FanDuel season. Jameis Winston. We forget about Jameis Winston because, he's Jameis. He could literally throw you in one half. He could literally tank your whatever lineups you have him in as QB. But he does have some upside. He's pretty much going against what I think most likely will be the worst team this coming season in 2022 in Atlanta. He's capable of throwing these type of games. Only played 7, but he did have 2 where he almost hit 27 and 30 up against both Green Bay and Washington. He has Michael Thomas this year, who I'm looking forward to using this year. And just for a side note here, my favorite section of this video will be talking about the wide receivers because the wide receiver value is ridiculous on this slate. If you haven't really looked at it, there's a lot of wide receivers to pick. I'm not gonna go through all of this. This is just your basic vid, no graphics, no anything, just going straight off my notes and everything. But Jameis Winston has Michael Thomas. He has Alvin Kamara coming out the backfield. Callaway and those guys will fall back into the supportive role. Jameis Winston does scramble a bit. Jameis Winston does have upside at $6,700. Looking at the running backs, obviously top chalk plays is this simple. You're either going Taylor, who is the most expensive on the slate at any position, 10,200. Derrick Henry against the Giants at 9.7. Personally, my favorite play will be Alvin Kamara versus Atlanta at 8.5K. CMC going against Cleveland at 9,500. Mixon against Pittsburgh, 8.3. Mixon plays very well against Pittsburgh. I just wish they, give him the ball more down in the red zone. He's definitely somebody that should be getting at least 10 or more touchdowns per year, but still, Pittsburgh is, Cincinnati has now grown to the big dog in that division, and going against Pittsburgh, who still has a decent defense, they should be able to, Cincinnati should be able to put it on Pittsburgh, which is normally a contested game. And then, obviously, with moving on from Ben Roethlisberger, you're going to have Najee Harris. If you thought Najee got carries last year, he should get a lot of carries and a lot of touches out the backfield. He's at 8.2. Now, obviously, the fun part of the video is the contrarian, because everybody pretty much knows per position who are the top dogs. At this one, and contrarian obviously being low owned, I'm going to go through this first. It's not in order, but I always love Dalvin Cook. He always has one big game against Green Bay. If you look back, there's always at least one big game per year he has against Green Bay. He's definitely capable of that at 8.4K. For the Jaguars, yes, James Robinson's back healthy. He runs and catches at the same time. You can either go with him or NTN. I think NTN he's going to be way more concerned. He probably won't be no more than 2% on. But Jaguars are taking a step up. They look like a team on the rise. No, not on the rise, but to be more efficient, especially on the offensive end. But the main 2 plays that I like, my personal favorite play, I like Jerick McKinnon. Sometimes when CEH doesn't get it going, and it's that game, like I said, it has a 52-53 total. Jerick McKinnon does get, first of all, Jerick McKinnon does get, he's gotten carries in the 10 and the 5 before. Number two, he's definitely probably the best pass catching back on the staff. Doesn't look like Ronald Jones is going to make that team in the current preseason process. He might get cut, which means more touches for Jerick McKinnon. But if that game shoots out, Jerick McKinnon, I think, benefits more than CEH. So Jerick McKinnon definitely in the low fives. And then, of course, I'm going to go with this guy right here because that was not a mistake last year. He definitely proved he should get some touches. A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon versus Minnesota. Last year, I mean, scored 21.3 when that role started increasing. In the beginning of the season, it really wasn't a thing. A.J. Dillon started taking touches when, obviously, people in front of him got hurt. And then it literally became a thing like how Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott is. A.J. Dillon scored 21.3. He's not the starting running back. He comes in, he has a burst of energy, runs hard. If you want to be sneaky but have high upside, this is probably one of the best contrarian picks on here. I love A.J. Dillon. Some people also like the other rookie. Oh man, his name slips me right now. But the rookie that's really impressing in Kansas City right now, I forgot his name. But like I said, it's still early preseason. Hopefully none of these guys get hurt. Don't wish on no injuries. Obviously, this is a very early look on the Fan Duel slate. But, yeah, A.J. Dillon and Jerick McKinnon are two of my top contrarian picks for the running backs. Like I said, I love what I see in wide receivers, so we're going to save wide receiver for last. And we shall go into the tight ends. Tight ends, I don't really have much notes on it. I think it's pretty straightforward. Kelsey, Waller, Andrews, they're the top in price. 7,000 for Darren Waller if you at least want to save 1,000. But other than that, Kelsey at 8K, Andrews at 7.9K. Going against Arizona, Andrews probably looks a bit better because he's literally the favorite target. Kelsey, maybe teams without Tyreek Hill might try to double team and see what they can do with Valdez-Scantling and Juju Smith-Schuster. 1-on-1, you never know. But Andrews and Kelsey are still 1A, 1B, regardless. Whatever anybody says on any other YouTube channel, whatever DFS pros, fantasy pros, Kelsey Andrews, 1 and 2. Waller's right there. But Waller definitely had the upside because everybody's thinking that, obviously with Renfro and Devontae Adams, now that's more room in the middle for him to operate in the middle. Now, contrarian, I mainly have 3 guys. New Orleans does have a good defense. Once again, that's another team. They're going against what I think is the worst team coming up this year. If Atlanta's going to be forced to throw the ball a lot, I think Kyle Pitts is going to benefit from that. I mean, I expect them to be down. A lot of opportunity for Kyle Pitts and a lot of hurry up and a lot of garbage time. It's fantasy. We're not talking about the game exactly. You look at fantasy different. He's going to have the opportunity to go for 8, 1, 13, maybe a touchdown or 2 because of garbage time. More than likely. It's garbage time because New Orleans should be able to stomp them in the ground. Gesicki, same thing. He's 5.5K against New England with the new weapons for Tyreek Hill, and you got already the rest of the wide receiver core that's already there. I think that opens up more for him and Tua. The running back situation is a mess. And I'm going to go with narrative here. We all know that New England going to Miami, always a tough time, never a fun time from the Brady days even up till now. Look for the Gesicki if you're looking for some upside right there. My favorite contrarian pick will be Hawkinson. Last year when they played the Eagles just stomped them into the ground. This is when Jalen Hurts was a little inconsistent with passing, and we remember the Eagles fans were cheering and chanting on the radio station and in their home games to run the ball. So when the Eagles went to Detroit, they ran the ball. They literally ran them to the ground. That was, I think the Giants or the Jets were on bye week, so they threw that game on. They threw that game into the New York market, and that was just a beating. Obviously, I was watching because of fantasy implications. I think I had Hawkinson or maybe Amon St. Brown that time. But last year, I forgot the score, but when they pretty much got their asses beat, he went 10. He had 10 receptions for 89 yards. Another year, Jared Goff. Another beating from the Eagles. Maybe that added up to 13.9 points. He gets a touchdown. plus the reception plus the yards plus the touchdown, it's an easy 20-point day. Just saying. That's why Hawkinson is my favorite contrarian for tight end. And then I'm gonna go to the defense. Look, it's like my second, third year playing DFS, and yeah, for those who ask, yes, it is good sometimes to pick that chalk defense. I mean, they need to score you some points, but I definitely have found success picking a cheap, capable defense, and hopefully get some sacks, some turnovers. If you don't get the touchdown, fine, but if they add up to as much as they don't give us so many points, but they get a couple of sacks and maybe a turnover here or two, and they add up to what's possibly your lowest scoring player. Like for instance, the optimal lineup last year, uh, Arizona was 3,400 on Fan Duel, and they scored 16. And then the next person closest to that was Jamal Williams, 21, which factors into what I just said about the Eagles whooping that ass last year. A lot of garbage time points. But let's start off with the popular picks. It's going to be Saints, 4,900 against Atlanta. The Ravens are at 4,800 against the Jets. Tennessee is 4,600 against the Giants. Indiana's 4,500 against Houston. The most expensive defense is 5K 49ers against the Bears. Interesting matchups. To me, the best matchup most likely is probably I like the Saints. If it was me, I'll probably flip-flop that 1A, 1B. Saints probably should be the 5K team, and then the 49ers a little bit lower. I actually like the Saints, then Indy above that. But I do think, like I said, I'm a big fan of Davis Mills, and Brandon Cook. Like, garbage time fantasy points. He may throw some interceptions. If he doesn't throw a pick six, he's going to be throwing that ball in the air, and he has a capable arm and scoring a couple of touchdowns, bring down the fantasy points for a defense. So, but when it comes to the contrarian, it's kind of weird, but I'm going to pick two teams that are actually facing each other. If they don't underachieve like last year, I like Washington. Washington does have trouble defending the pass. Jaguars seem to be getting better at throwing the ball. Trevor Lawrence is, making his reads a little quicker, launching that ball. They got a few new weapons, especially in their wide receiver core. But I like Washington against the Jags at 3,700, and then literally 100 under them. After that upset against the Bills last year, that young Jaguars defense was flying. They played really well. Yeah, they still lost some games. I think they still had a couple of games where they only scored 3 or 6 points or 2 points. But the Jaguars defense is growing, and they're a little better. Washington is not an explosive offense. Yes, people are probably liking Terry McLaurin a little more with Gibson and J.D. McKissick, and then who's the new quarterback that just went there? I think it was Carson Wentz just went there, and that's probably the best quarterback that wide receiver core that quarterback has had to this date. But like I said, that's not an explosive offense. So, and Wentz has the ability to make some mistakes, and that Jaguars linebacker core is fast, and they can get after the quarterback. Both squads have the ability to make that game look pretty ugly. That's why there's, besides those three, that KC game, the Green Bay, Minnesota, and LA, and the LA Raiders game, there's a lot of games currently right now. The way the lines are, they're in the 40s. Like maybe one of them, the rest of those games, maybe one is out of 47, but I think there's a couple that are like 43 and a half, 44 and a half, 42, and something like that. So, yeah, I like those defenses. And then I think maybe my favorite contrarian pick, I'm going back to narrative. New England always has a hard time in Miami. This not even with the Tom Brady Pats. These are not the Tom Brady Pats. So Miami at 3,800 is what I'm liking for defense. Now to my favorite part of the segment, and I think yes, I'm gonna wind it up with this. But before I get into the wide receivers, once again, this is the first episode of Grade A Fantasy. As you can see, I kind of like talking about it. It's a lot of fun. Talk about DFS sports at work, friends on the phone and everything, and my cousins also. And hopefully, throughout here, from here on out, I'll be able to consistently give content every few days. I like to take my time and, take my notes and make sure I have everything steady as it is. It's just literally just me. I don't have like a team or projection, but this is just general outlook, fantasy talk. Maybe you can look at me as a starter, like I'm an appetizer to your weekly fantasy information that you need before you go to the big boys like Al Seinfeld and former Osmo, current stochastic team and Occupy Fantasy, all guys that I've watched that that are cool. But Al Seinfeld is some good content. I actually try to get all my stuff up before he did his early Fan Duel video, so definitely give Al Seinfeld a look up and those other guys that I mentioned. So back to the last segment. And just to mention, I will try. Like I said, it's your basic, one guy talking video or whatever. So not to bore anybody to death, but I hope I can give enough information within 30 minutes. That's why I'm going to try to keep these videos 30 minutes a piece, and we'll see. As you can see, I'm doing my best to do this first run straight with no interruptions, and let's get to the last slot. Okay, so talking wide receivers. Wide receivers that should be highly owned. A lot of people are excited about Michael Pittman versus Indy, 7,200. Adams, of course. Everybody can't wait to see that Raiders offense against LA, 8,500. Jamal Chase, 8,200 against Pittsburgh. Debo, pretty much the Swiss Army knife for wide receivers, 8,400 against Chicago. And of course, Justin Jefferson, 8,100. Those should be the highest owned. Now, who are my I got two faves. I got a 1A and 1B, and I think they should at least have good years, or at least one of them should have good starts, because one of the guys that I'm about to talk about, his head guy is suspended for the first 6 days. That should clue you in what team I'm talking about. But let's get to these other guys first. I already mentioned him in like a couple of positions already. Brandon Cooks. I love Brandon Cooks. Had a game last year, I think before Davis Mills really took that job over. Had one game at 13.4. I think it was in the middle. This wasn't towards the end or whatever. But he had 13.4 FanDuel points week 6 last year. This is when David Mills, I think, probably started taking that job over before he became, the decent quarterback that everybody liked watching or whatever. So Brandon Cooks against Indy, I expect him to throw it a lot. I understand a lot of people like Juju Smith-Schuster, and then a lot of people also like Marquez Valdes-Scantling because he's a deep threat. But I think McCall Hardman is being overlooked because after Kelsey, he knows pretty much the system, and he knows, the nuances of what Mahomes likes and what's to do or whatever. So I really like Hardman. Hardman was definitely a guy that I picked last year because if you wanted to get away from the typical Mahomes, and it was an expensive stack, and like I said, it won a couple times. If you wanted to get away from holding hands with the field with Mahomes, Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey, that trio, or the I used to call it the fantasy trinity. There were games that Tyreek Hill did not do anything, so those passes you could have got lucky and beat most of that field and go with Hardman. I think Hardman steps up. To me, he's number 2, even though people are looking at him as number 3 because obviously you treat Kelsey like a wide receiver, then it's Juju, and then Hardman. Hardman has the speed to go deep, and he's a good midfield wide receiver. He can run slant routes very well. I think he's being very overlooked. So McCall Hardman, I like him a lot. Michael Thomas. I understand his quarterback's not Drew Brees anymore, but Michael Thomas is 6,200. Oh, and I'm sorry, McCall Hardman's at 5,400. Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas plays big, deep. He can help on the short game with Jameis Winston. 6,200. Like I said, not everybody can be 30 and 27%, but a lot of those top guys are going to be taken. Michael Thomas might be in the 15, 14s or whatever, mid-range or whatever. Not super contrarian where he's like 10% and under. But to me, Michael Thomas should be one of these guys that's at 27%. Michael Thomas against Atlanta. I think earlier I said something about them being the worst team. Michael Thomas versus Atlanta. Okay, so, and then of course, you want to get a little slick or whatever. Yeah, he's going to have his games, but at 6,100, yes, Justin Jefferson is a monster, but I still love my boy Adam Thielen. And he's 100% cheaper than Michael Thomas. I mean, there's tons of value. There are tons of value at wide receiver. You can go a lot of places. You can go a ton of places last year. I mean, this week. Before, obviously, the prices get adjusted to what the system sees. Because, like I said, Michael Thomas is an 8,000 and up wide receiver. We just haven't seen him in damn near 2 years. So, there's a lot of places you can go. But like I said, Thielen can still run his route. He's a slant. He runs slants. He runs deep slants. He could pick up the pace. He could definitely pick up the pace. And in training camp, there was reports about Minnesota wanting to throw it even more. So they got a nice trio with him, Jefferson, and Osborne. And hey, maybe that helps Dalvin Cook catch some more passes. Yeah, Dalvin Cook, I think, amazing. He just needs to get the opportunity to get some more receptions. My top two, it has to be now. Maybe because of the situation, this guy might head up, but 1A to me, I'm looking forward for him, especially for the first 6 weeks. Once DeAndre Hopkins get back, I don't know. But Rondelle Moore. Now people are probably saying, "Oh my God, Rondelle Moore." I don't know because they still got Selleck at tight end. They still got oh crap. They got Hollywood Brown there now, and then they still got AJ Green, and then they also can still throw it. They still throw it to their running backs in the backfield. But now that DeAndre's not there, Hollywood Brown becomes the deep threat. But yet they still have AJ Green. But now he's definitely number 3 because technically last year Rondelle Moore was more like a gadget 4. He got a lot of screen passes. I think I read somewhere he had one of the negative yards before the catch. Like he was catching the ball like just in front of the line and back of the line, at the line, and then the work had to be done by himself. With him being the legit number 3 for the first 6 weeks, he's going to be running more routes. Rondelle Moore is 5,500 going against KC, a game that once again they expect to shoot out. And he runs, and he's a little versatile too. They do run reverses with him. Rondelle Moore has a lot of versatility to him. He gets a lot of wide receiver sweeps, a lot of short passes where he can break open. If that game shoots out like the way it's supposed to, you can see him breaking one on his own. But I expect him to run at least way more deeper routes, even slants will be considered deep for Rondelle Moore because he'll literally catch screen passes at the line, behind the line, stuff like that. Rondelle Moore is my number 1A. And my boy, I mean, y'all probably going to look at me like, oh, this guy's crazy. I'm never subscribing to this channel. But let me tell you something. When he was healthy, there was a week that I had him, and he was shooting me up the charts before he got thrown out of the Giants-Cowboys game because of a fight. Kadarius Toney has some skill. 5,300. I expect him to be down against Tennessee. Tennessee will be probably running out that clock. Yes, the quarterback is iffy. Obviously, wide receivers, fantasy points depends on the quarterback. But this guy has skill. He gets open. He makes it easier. He makes it look real easy, and you really can't. I don't really think you can really count on the rest of the Giants wide receivers like that. But when it comes to explosivity and just raw skill and speed, he's small, but he plays so big. Going deep, jumping the ball. He meets the ball at the height where he needs it, like Larry Fitzgerald to me, when he goes deep to jump for the ball. And then, of course, being a small receiver, he uses speed in the slant. Kadarius Toney looks like somebody that could burst out this year. Seriously. Rondelle Moore it seems he'll have a ceiling. Now, if he makes a good impression out of the 4 to 6 weeks, then yeah, when Hopkins comes back, it's going to be dangerous because he's back to like number 4 again. And maybe he becomes the gadget guy. Or maybe Arizona like, hey, we can't, even though we got this guy back, even though we got Hopkins back, we can't keep this guy on the bench. Maybe they go more 4 wide. I'm talking about way into the future. I'm talking about week 6 and 7. DeAndre's going to be out the first 6 weeks, so I'm already talking about week 7. Way too early to talk about that. But for somebody who was the starter, I think who's the best skilled on the Giants, another team who I think is going to be down a lot this year, Kadarius Toney, 5,300 against Tennessee. My top contrarian pick for wide receivers in week 1. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And looking at my timer, I'm doing a pretty good job of making these videos half an hour. I'm looking at a 29-minute timer right now. So, guess I gotta start getting you saying this. Hopefully you like the video. Like I said, it's pretty much a primitive video, just me talking, but I try to do my information and sound as sharp as I can. But please leave if you did like the video, please leave a like. If it was nice enough for you to, hey, I'll subscribe and see what his next video is like, please hit subscribe. Hopefully in the next couple of days, I'll probably do a little position by position overview. We are starting to see some of these rosters shrink, so there are a lot of these young kids that people are interested in and maybe being contrarian picks, but rosters are starting to get cut. So maybe after the preseason week 2, I'll probably bring up another video Just to give everybody a little information, this video would mainly strictly be on all about the Fan Duel slates. Whether if I'm playing a single game or the full slates, that's the main site that I play on. I play on the. It's gonna be the blue brand, and no, that's not why I'm wearing a blue shirt. But yeah, it's mainly what I play on. It's the main platform that I play. So I mean, I might mention DraftKings every now and then, but this is really gonna be a FanDuel channel. No offense to the DraftKings players at all. It's just that's what I mainly play on. It's what I find most success on. Never really hit big in GPP and full slate, but I've had hit some single games in the past. Hockey's my best breadwinner, honestly, and I've hit a couple of things in basketball as well. So, and like I said, hopefully you guys like the, you guys like the info, whatever. I'm very prestigious on doing what I call homework and research, and hopefully some of my views opened your eyes to some things. If you didn't, if you disagree, I wouldn't mind a comment and leave a comment and let me know what you feel or whatever. Or we could talk about what's this view, what's that view. Maybe we meet in the middle. Hey, maybe you're gonna show me something, open my eyes to something that I haven't even looked at yet. But once again, this is the first episode or the end of the first episode of Grade A Fantasy. Uh, Hopefully, you guys are also doing your own homework and research. And hey, I mean, it's a little early to say it as it's a little early to preview it, but good luck with the dummy lineups. If you're comfortable with some lineups already, hey, more luck to you. This FanDuel contest for the Millie has about 800,093 entries or something like that. So at $4 a pop. So I'm still trying to get some more entries. I still got 10 satellites that haven't been activated yet, and I think I already bought about 15. Not much of a max enter, but if I'm excited about a slate, I will drop in about 30, maybe 40 lineups or something like that. And then I like to play. I definitely love playing for satellites. Definitely just more opportunity, cheaper way for opportunity to get you in the contest and a better chance to get different. But once again, thank you everybody for watching. Please leave a like and a comment. And if it's good enough for you, once again, subscribe. I'll see you sometime next week. This is Grade A Fantasy, signing off.